Hi, welcome back. My name is Srikant. In today's session, we're going to talk about version management in SAC planning. Version management is one of the important activities in SAC planning. In version management, we start with creating a private version and we make some changes to the private version by adding some numbers and some factors to it. And once we get comfortable with the numbers, we share the private version with the other colleagues in the group. And then when we get to the finalized state, this private version can be published as public version and it is available in the model. So this is very common activity in SAC planning, and this is handled or performed in SAC story. So in today's session, we're going to create a planning story. We're going to work on creating some private versions and also make changes to the private version. And then we share that private version with the other team members. And also finally, we conclude and make the private version as public version. And then we can see that as available dimension in the SAC planning model. I'm going to look at that in the system now. I'm going to access my analytics cloud. I'm going to go into my folders. I'm going to go back to my folder. In the previous session, I've created a copy of sales planning model. It is called my sales planning model. I'm going to use this one. Just to recap, I'm going to open this model and show you the dimension and the version that currently available in the planning model. So you can see that I'm going to switch off the view. So you can see the dimensions in the bottom and also the measures here. So I'm going to click on the version dimension to see the data in it. Currently, there are public version values members. You can see there are four values in the version dimension. So I'm going to work on creating a private version and then start working on it and make changes to it, and we'll see how it is going to get saved to the public. Going back to the model, and if I wanted to see the data, I can switch on the view. It is going to come in the bottom. You can see you can display the different public versions data here. You can also see the private versions data here. Currently, I don't have any private versions. I just having an option to choose different public versions data. You can switch to budget, forecast, and plan. These are the four available versions in public versions in the uh, in my model. Again, switching off the view, grid view, or data foundation view. Then I wanted to create a story on this model and then start working on creating a private version. So for that, I'm going to access my folder. I'm going to start creating a story here. Click Canvas page, say create, and then I'm going to insert a table. I'm going to choose my model from publish my sales planning. Got the default currency as USD. Going to keep that as it is. I'm going to pull this to the center so I can have some space. I wanted to ignore the builder part, so I'm going to click on this one. It gives me more space to work on it. So currently, my story contains just one measure, discounts. I don't have any value for the discount, or it may be that there are multiple currencies in discounts that it's not able to display the value correctly. So I'm going to switch to a measure that is more a unique currency value. It's going to switch to the builder. I'm going to select my filter on the measures. I'm going to pick the gross sales, which has a group currency data. It's going to be USD. So I'm going to select that, and then you can see the data in here. I also wanted to add another dimension here in my rows. I'm going to put my customer dimension here. So I'm going to select it, and then it gets me the hierarchy of it. I'm going to expand my hierarchy to see the numbers. I'm going to little expand this one as well. So I'm going to have total. I also have direct channel and indirect channel, and then I can drill down to see the bottom no direct members of the customer. I'm fine with this. I'm just going to keep this as it is. I also wanted to keep another measure that is going to be my so actually the same measure, but for a different version though. I'm going to add another version here. I'm going to choose versions and then say this time I wanted to put forecast into my table. So you can see it's showing as a, a, a grid bar. So you can see this is my forecast. I'm going to say, okay, this is good. Now I wanted to start creating uh, a different forecast because this is good. This is coming already. But I wanted to make some changes to the forecast. Let's say, what if I change a 5% more to the current forecast, or I wanted to enter forecast manually instead of the existing calculation or existing values. So we're going to see all these kind of scenarios. So first I'm going to work directly on the public version and then start creating a new forecast version without having a private version created. Let's do that. So I'm going to turn it off and then I'm going to switch to the version management page. So I'm going to click here, three dots, and you can see version management here. It's going to get you the version management. You can see the public version, the actual, and the forecast. There are many versions, but currently it's showing as actual and forecast just because I turned on this toggle show version in use only. If I just turn it off, you can see all the versions. But right now I don't have to use or show the other um, versions. I wanted to show just these versions that are being used in the story. I just put that toggle back. So now I don't have any private version. You can see that. So before getting into the private version, if I wanted to create a new public version, how do I do this? So I'm just going to create a plus. I'm just clicking plus and create a blank public version. So this is going to give me a blank public version. I'm going to call this as, or I can just call it as public forecast 2023. I also wanted to make sure this is too much of data, so I wanted to filter for 2023. So it's just I'm going to do that just after that. But this version, I'm just naming it as public forecast 2023. And then category, this is not a planning category. This is going to be a forecast category because each category represents the type of dimension that it is going to be. This time it is a forecast category, saying forecast is going to look like this. I'm working on forecast. I wanted to have, I actualize this one. I'm not working on actuals, so I'm working on forecast. So I created another forecast version and it is an empty because I chose it as empty. Before going to work on this public forecast version, I wanted to restrict this data to only 2023. So how could I do that? I will switch back. I wanted to switch off the version management and then switch on the details builder. And you can go and apply a filter on the year column. So it's going to switch on the date. I'll go all the way to the year and then choose 2023 as the filter. It's going to be here. Just that it is going to restrict a lot of data and it shows very few numbers in here. Or you can even choose a month value so that it gets much lesser in the scope to be able to read these values. Let's do that. I'm going to apply another filter on the month. This time I'm going to choose filters, add month. I'm going to just keep current month, or sorry, I can pick any month. This time I wanted to keep March. Okay, selected. This is for 1 month. So you can see 68 million and also 46 million number for that particular month. Now my filters are applied. I don't need these builder anymore. I'm going to turn it off and go back to my version control. Sorry, my version control is going to be from version history. Version management is right there. You get the version management. So I created a new version and it appears here and as well as here. This is a public version. This is going to be readily available in your model as a public version dimension value. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say currently the forecast for the direct channel is 76 million and indirect channel is 52 million. So what I'm going to put, okay, I wanted to change my forecast to enter manually like 77 million. Okay, and I don't have any precision to be entered, and then here I wanted to put 53 million, just that. So my forecast is manually being changed. Instead of 128 million, I've updated it as 130. So it's just a projection or playing with some numbers and saying, okay, what if my forecast is changed to 130 and what is the other values get impacted or how my revenue is going to look like based on these different values that I enter and etc. So you're going to do this if and else or if Y analysis kind of thing by changing the forecast multiple times. This is the objective of creating a different version in SAC planning. In the past, we do this kind of analysis by using scenarios in the past in in our categories. You remember from the BPC terminology, these are the ones that you name in the past when you're working on this kind of analysis. So if I save it directly and publish, it is going to get this data updated to my model. I can do that, just go and there and then say publish. I wanted to publish, it's done. So I've got a new public version directly created with the direct inputs that I've given here from my story. This is one way of doing my version management directly working. Sometimes it is not advisable to work on public dimension directly because you wanted to play around. So which is going to be the need for having a private version. So I'm going to create a private version here, and then I say PRV and forecast 2023. Or I can just do it 2023. So category is definitely not actual. So I'm working on forecast. This version is type of a forecast version. I don't have to give a source version. It's optional. It's not that if I give a source version, it is going to copy the data from the source version. No, it's not. It's going to get some settings from that source. So you can read the information here from help. Data locking settings and dimension properties are carried over to the newly created version. Otherwise, it is not for definitely not for the data. Okay, and say create. So I created a new empty private version here, and then I can do the same thing that I did it in the public version here as well by inputting the values directly here, which I can do, and then publish this to publish public dimension, which is very similar to what we have done in the past. So instead of entering the data manually, so what I can do, I wanted to copy the data from existing forecast version into this forecast and then make some changes to it and then publish to public dimension. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, how do I do that? So I can do that by copying the data from the forecast version from the table in the story. So this is my table. So I'm going to select my forecast and then I'm going to choose copy version from the version context menu. So it is going to pop up a version name. I'm going to put this as private because you can see that it is copying the data to a private version. So I'm going to put private FSCT and John 2020, actually March 23. And this is a category of forecast. and then copy all data. I wanted to copy, or you can also choose to copy certain data only, but just this time I'm going to copy everything um, from the dimension that I've, sorry, the forecast version that I've chosen from the table. So I'm saying, okay, so new a private version is created. You can see which is named as private forecast March 20th. I don't need the previous private version that I've created because I'm not repeating the use case of entering values manually. I wanted to get the values copied from forecast and make changes to it. So for that reason, I'm going to delete the previous forecast version that I created here. So you can do that by choosing the more option and then say delete. This will be gone. Now I have one private version at this time, and then which is copied over from existing forecast version. What I'm going to do, instead of manually changing this 76 to 77, I wanted to increase this to a 2% more and see how it is going to look like. It's kind of a formula. So how do I do that? I will enable my formula bar here. For that, you can choose three dots and then enable formula bar. You can see the formula bar appearing here. I'm going to select my formula bar for the direct channel and say plus 2%. So it's going to add 2% to it. And then you also need to observe that as I put my 2% value at the node direct channel, it is going to allocate or distribute the total amount to the all the underlying nodes or the members of the hierarchy node. This is done by default um, based on the proportion, based on the percentage share of each node or member. It gets allocated. It's done by default. So if you wanted to see, you can see that it's the large retailers 50 and 26. And then here I'm going to apply 2%. And then say enter. Now it's changed to 78, and then you can also see there's number changed from 50 million to 51 million because it's allocated the increased number to the the nodes underneath the direct channel. Okay, and I also wanted to keep the indirect channel at 3%. I'll do the same thing, say plus 3%, and say enter. It's going to do the same. Yeah, now it got changed to 55. Okay, and the total value also got adjusted accordingly. It became 133 million as the 2% in increase in the direct channel and 3% increase in the indirect channel. This is how I made my private version updated based on certain increments to the existing forecast value, which is a very normal scenario in any of the planning or forecasting use case. And then I can share this story, read only and read and write with the other person that who is going to other user who is going to work on this in this private. I'm not really doing it. I don't have any other user in this account or in this system, so I'm just skipping this for now. And then once I share and get the feedback and make some changes to this version, what I'm going to do, I will select publish and publish as. Publish is if you're already having a public version, then you make changes to it by copying it, then you publish to the existing so that it gets overwritten or updated to the existing version. Right now it's a new one, so I'm going to put as publish as, and then name as the same, but just that I put public in the front. So it's going to be called as March 20. And then category forecast, yes, of course, and then publish, and it gets deleted from private version and gets moved to the public version. You can see that it gets from private and then changed to the public version. So now you have another public version, but that is actually started as a private version and get updated and published to the public version. So this is something that we wanted to do most of the time, so to make consistent or safer planning updates in the forecasting process. If I wanted to show you the data in these versions, I can go back to my model. Let me save this story first. I'm going to save it as, I'll say my forecast version forecast. First one, I will just say, okay, my story has been saved. I will go back to my model now. I wanted to see those newly created versions coming up here. I'm going to put my sales planning and then choose data. So data foundation view, and you can see the drop down here for the versions. And then I should see the recently created two version. One is manually created one. The other one is uh, created as a private and then which is copied over from the existing public version and then made some changes to it and then published as a public version. So these are all coming. If you wanted to see what is in the public forecast 2023, that's manually created one. So I didn't choose some of those values here. And then if I switch to the public forecast March 2020, March 23, that was the one that I updated lastly. So you can see I filtered on 2023. So it wouldn't have any data for 2018. I mean, wouldn't get updated for 2018. I should really see 2023 data to see a forecast. This new forecast version has got new numbers um, created as part of my version management process. Okay, I'm also saying that you can also see the private versions. Currently, you don't see it here because I don't have any private version. Let me just create one private version and just to show you that that's going to be possible as well. I'll create my version forecast. I'm going to go back to my version forecast story and then choose edit. Give a little bit space. This time I'm going to put the actually version management. I'm going to go into the version management and then choose to create a new private version here. And for that, I can choose copy. And then say version name private, just for testing. Just to get the data here. Forecast category, copy all data and say okay. So you can copy the data and create a version either from the version management pane, or you can select that particular version from the table in the Canvas page and then choose version and then say copy. Both should work fine, and same for delete version, and also it works as the same way. So I created a new private version. So I'm going to save it. Now I will go back to the model and then should see this private version data as well in my model. Yeah, you can see the private just to get data version is available right there. And you can see the data coming in because I copied it from the other public dimension or actually version. So this is how we control the version, or we copy or we make the changes to the existing version, and also we create a new version and as a private one and make changes to it and publish that to the dimension. So it's a very common process or activity that most of the times we do in planning process. I also wanted to show you another point in version management. This is about version history and reverting the previous changes or the previous version changes and going back to one of the previous versions data. Let's do that in this particular story. Here I have my private version. I'm going to turn it on the version management so that you can see the values or the history of the version. So I have the private version. I'm going to modify the direct channel value to simply say 79 million. I'm going to put that, and it gets updated. And then I can see if I wanted to undo this change, I can choose this version column and then go to the version and say undo data change. And then it reverts the previous value update and then gets back to the previous numbers. You can see that the 70 million has been changed to 78. Similarly, you may have several changes done. So you may have one or more or two or more versions changed and you wanted to go back to the previous version or the older version that you wanted to, you can still do that. For example, if I wanted to make 70 million here and then make another change in the indirect channel, this is going to be, I'm going to put 50 million. This is considered another change. And if I wanted to see the history of the version, I can go to the version and say history. So now you can see there are two versions. One is for the direct channel and the other one is for indirect channel. If you click on this one, it shows the one of the change, and this one gets you to the second change that is only 70 million update, and this one gets to the very first change that appear as a copy of your forecast data. So you can go back to any of the previous versions as you're working on private version. So this is possible through the version history in private version. That's it for today's session, and stay tuned for next one. If you wanted to follow my channel, please subscribe, and bye for now. Thank you.